Community with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and all of you who take part in this show live are co-hosts here on this day, the day of the apothecary. So I thought this week we would talk about um, construction and development and crafting in our tabletop role-playing experience. But today we're going to be rather hyper-specific about the apothecary and what it represents in our tabletop role-playing experiences. But before we get into that, let's just take a moment to ready our minds, ready our open ourselves up to just being very creative and such. So let the intro begin, and also, of course, let me get another drink. So here we go. Sorry about that. The one thing they don't tell you about doing like live broadcasts and things are worrying about like nose goblins and underwear gremlins and throat ogres and things like that just before you go live. You decipher that as you will. uh, but anyway, guys, today we're going to talk about the apothecary, and I'd like to set up um, on this day of the apothecary, and I'd like to set up some of the constraints because we will talk about we will bring up and talk about herbalists and alchemists and things of that nature, individuals that are skilled in taking the raw ingredients of the natural world and combining it with science. And that's where I think the apothecary, or rather why I'm using the apothecary, to fit that middle ground. Not necessarily, it's our fantasy version of we're flowing into science, the actual physics of the material world and an individual who's skilled in it, but also a bit of that a bit of the magic where we understood the body to have like what was it, like four humors, and learning about the four elements and how it interacts with things, and this individual who uh, is transversing this line going from pure faith, uh, clerics and healers and divine magic of laying on hands, just to heal someone, and moving away from there through herbalism, where you have an individual who oftentimes this is passed down through generation to generation of individuals who just go out into the world and collect raw elements, and then we get into the flow past the apothecary into like an alchemist that really is taking things and transforming them chemically or even microscopically and such. And I believe the apothecary kind of floats in there in that middle ground. So let's see what our co-hosts are bringing up. Yeah, drugs and mushrooms. Yes, absolutely. And of course, I feel like the person the person that has some of the on chemical ingestible or bodily chemical usage is the snake oil salesman. I think we don't give the snake oil salesman enough credit for transforming the even till today the transformative nature of how we look at drugs and ingestibles and things like that, and how much influence the snake oil salesman still has on society, and could absolutely positively be used in our tabletop role playing experiences. Like for every person that has real magic, and we talk about like, well, wouldn't the world be different if they had real magic? There's probably I don't know what ratio of 1,000 snake salesmen to one person, or 50 to one ratio. I don't know. It's got to be up there. Um, yeah, it's crazy. Talking about fungus, cordyceps. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Drew, like, oh, that's hilarious. Now I have a great. Now I have the idea for an apothecary NPC who also has a side hustle as a necromancer. Um, Also, just mythologically, it just seems like we do have a pretty good obsession with the ultimate power, which is power over death, and the power to do that. Like no matter how powerful an individual can be, if you can't live forever, you can't you if your power level is limited by your own lifespan, if once we're able to bridge when medicine, the survivability of us using medicine surpasses our um the lifespan it takes for you to suffer from a thing, which basically would be functional immortality, the rich would never let it go, ever. Yeah. Looking at those bottles makes me want to see a Wonderland RPG. Oh, like let's see, like this, where drugs are an important part, pills that change your size, etc. I was thinking about that, and yeah, like maybe magic isn't about magic spells, but like outfitting yourself by finding these special concoctions. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, Drew says I like the Nexus drug idea in WandaVision to center you in reality, which may also be a thing too. Yep, yep. Before we talk about the apothecary, let's take a powder. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Funny, funny, funny. Okay. Mm-mm-mm. Oh man. Member of the Shy Squad says, "Thank you, Snake Oil Salesman, for proving placebos really work," which is really a thing too. I mean, what was it? Cocaine was used often as a medicine. Soda, uh, the effervescence in sodas and things. Ginger was used that way for a long time. And the reason why I brought up Snake Oil Salesman, along with the apothecary, is that um, when people get desperate, we all get desperate for a change in ourselves, and it's very difficult. We can blame others for the way the world is shaped and used and such, but ourselves, it's very difficult for us to accept ourselves as ourselves, and so we want to make those changes. Whether that change is um, uh, uh, I need to get things done, and I don't want to sleep much because every time I sleep, my enemy or my rival or opponent is working harder and faster than I am. Maybe it's because of our looks, or we want someone to look at us as someone who is enchanting or beautiful or confident. We often compare we very rarely look backwards and compare ourselves as to who we're better than. We often look forward to the lower number and go, that person is taller, stronger, faster, younger, more enticing. There's something about that person. I don't know what it is that draws me to them. I want to be like that individual and such. And the apothecary is someone who could make that happen. And of course, the snake oil salesman is like the first step before we start signing contracts with fiends. Um, but the intermediate of that, of trying to find and spend money on that, is really where we can find a lot of our stories, right? Like maybe the ogre that's ravaging the city was just your neighbor down the street who's just pissed off and decided to get this concoction, drink something to beat up the local bully, and it just got out of control, right? Or the story of the invisible man. You know, this individual who's like, I'm going to create something and I can turn invisible, and then all of a sudden the power corrupts, the absolute power corrupts absolutely. You know, if you have a random NPC who's running around your world invisible, and the PCs are like, maybe they think it's some kind of grand scheme, but really it's just an NPC who just happens to be permanently invisible, and they're just like, okay, this is enough. I can't get this. You know, I mean, it'd be pretty fun. Um, Yep, yep. The modern snake oil salesperson will try to sell you essential oils, who will do many things. Hey, burn this incense, smell this oil, rub this on your skin, and you'll get luck. Or this person will fall in love with you. Or People will look at you, in a different eye. And the thing is that either the stuff could work with a very terrible, um, a, a horrible side effect, or maybe it doesn't work at all, but the concoction makes you think it's working. So that person could be, maybe their flesh is falling off of their body, but they think they look beautiful, and they're like, hug me please, you love me, don't you? And everyone's just like, get away from me, what the hell? Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there too. Speaking of which, was the medieval apothecary snake oil salesman the earliest incarnation of the modern day politician? I think there's a direct correlation with that, right? Selling something people don't want or need, creating a manipulating someone's emotions and turning it into a profitable endeavor. Make getting people scared or jealous, using the seven deadly sins, right? Getting people who haven't normally even thought about it to start suddenly go, well, you're missing this bottle of, snake oil or something. You need this. And then creating an artificial economy around it. Well, everyone else is buying it. Maybe I need to buy it. Thomas Andrews says, the thing I have to say about herbal stuff supposedly not working, why are some plants or herbs illegal for being drugs? Another name for medicine, right? Maybe, like, what a great story idea. Oh, hey, what NPCs and UPCs, you're not allowed to go to that grove to use those plants for anything. And sometimes just being told no is a good motivating force for characters, right? I mean, yes, you could say the druid circles, like, please don't pick the plants that we drew. But maybe even the druids are being told by the local nobility, like, no, those crops, no one touches them at all, right? And they're like, well, yeah, but, and the druids are like sitting back like, yeah, why not? We know how to use that stuff to heal people and blah blah blah. Those good berries are ours and ours only, right? Like, and it might be something you don't even know about, especially about what can be used for our purposes, right? Like whether it's roots or seeds, bark, leaves, whether cultivating the stuff in a particular time frame. Today being the day of the apothecary, may be specific, like this is the day when the apothecary comes to town, or it could be the day that the harvesting of the natural elements plus the combination of the chemicals together, this is the day that it comes, this is specifically on a calendar that a thing is supposed to happen, which we often, um, our scientific minds often forget about the folklorish parts of alchemy, things being done at a particular time of day, particular time of year or season or month or celestial alignment or something like that. Mm-mm-mm. So I says functional immortality. You're still going to get cancer at some point, dementia too. I wonder if medicine, I love the way you put that, because I wonder if we will ever get medicine where our medical technology gets to the point where we can like cut off the DNA that starts to fray, to um, find, capture, and eliminate the cancerousness that happens to grow in different parts of our body, saving our minds, saving the functionality of our body. Like, it would be horrible to live 300 years if by age 95 you have no mobility and you're just stuck in your brain. You know what I mean? Like, so it's also um, um, lifestyle, the pleasantness of living life as well. Yeah, weed and cocaine were only made illegal by Nixon to raise money and punishing the people selling the drugs. Yeah, that's a thing too, right? Yeah, selling drugs, not plants or placebos. Yep. So I wonder if the alchemist. Jeez, I knew I was going to do this. I wonder if the apothecary is like the equivalent of skirting the law in a way, right? In a fantasy realm, like, well, no, I'm not really an herbalist and I'm not a medical doctor. And in fantasy, like, would the apothecary be somehow blaspheming against the work that the holy orders do. Like you're taking concoctions, maybe like um placing yourselves above the gods. You should give your you should give over your faith in such to the gods, who will, and we as agents of the gods will heal you. You shouldn't be taking those concoctions and such. That may be an issue. I could see a township besieged by enemies, and they're like, "Listen, we can't rely on the church. This combination of church and state. We need something else." And the apothecary is like, "Well, I've got healing agents." They're like, "Great, you're hired. You're working for us. Get out to the battlefield." Right? It, TA says that's the problem I have with people who once again paint with a wide brush as um wide brush all as one thing or another, right? Because again, like we even know now that there are many truisms to herbalism that medicine has ignored because we couldn't prove a thing, or it wasn't scientifically readily available, or that um, both legal and illegal drugs, how they're classified, have nothing to do with the uses or misuses of those same things. There are many legal drugs that are misused. Alcohol, it kind of fits into one of those categories, right? And then there's many things that are used that maybe we shouldn't be using. Some would say like chemotherapy is a bit barbaric to people, There is no drug which makes one a better game master except more dice. More dice. Mm-mm-mm. Either assuming because there are solutions in herbs and such that every person claiming is right, or again painting the brush like you were saying, claiming that all who have a solution but they had an experience with a liar, that they are all liars. But you know what, that's our brain, right? Like, hey, I was the snake oil salesman, took all of my money, therefore there anyone selling something that, a concoction that can transform me into a perfect person is a liar. And that could literally be a story unto itself in a city with one faction trying to take down the snake oil salesman on this particular day. There are real, you're going to have rivalries too with the apothecaries going, well, they're liars. No, you're a liar. And maybe hiring or having family members or something try to take down the other person's shop or cart or whatever the case may be. Being hired as a heist to try to steal the the formula that is used to create these things. And mind you, we don't necessarily have to stick with plants, although fantasy, we have a lot of living plants and such, but maybe there's something that the fey creatures have developed, and there are effluvia and other cast-offs from animals and monsters and things that are used to create other, like I can imagine a basilisk blood being used to prevent being turned into or reverse being petrified, and that could be very important. Anti-venom, things like that. And the End King says, imagine a psychedelic god that can only be seen while you're in a drug-altered state. Now imagine its clerics are apothecaries. Ooh. Yeah. I suppose they'd have to use tie dye, and everyone's gonna have to have like dreadlocks and stuff. Yeah, kind of like the idea of a rogue coming at it from a snake oil salesman angle, a fake alchemist or fake cleric. I love that idea. I made a character kind of like that, not necessarily snake oil salesman, but I made a rogue who thought of himself as a cleric. Like he would sneak into the coin box to steal stuff. He would eavesdrop on conversations between rich merchants and the nobility with the church, and would backstab enemies of the church. It was all for the good, right? And the character completely believed they were religious, but the character's capabilities were all roguish. Yeah, it was pretty fun doing that. And even the people I played with, they were like, "What class are you playing again?" And I was like, "I'm a cleric." "Can you heal somebody?" "Oh, I've got medicine skill." "Yeah, sure." You don't lay on hands? Oh, I do it all the time. It doesn't work, but mm-mm-mm. Oh man. Yeah. Forbidden herbs, gotta get them. Fruit of Eden, eat every fruit of the field. That's what the good book says. And I wonder, in fantasy, like, could we make an equivalent of like the apple or like nectar of the gods or something? Like, could we or would we or should we make something like that? Oh, Dead Man says the largest single organism on Earth is an Armillaria ostoye. It's a fungus. I know it's a fungus. It covers some 2,883 acres or 965 hectares of soil in Oregon's Blue Mountains. I never knew the name of it, but I did know it's one giant fungal organism, which would be pretty interesting if it doesn't have to have sentience, but if someone found this out and that was their secret, like, th- th- they're a fake apothecary, but they find a real thing that even they don't know what the end results are, and they go to this growing fungal thing. Maybe they have to feed it dead bodies, so they feed it its rivals or something like that. Oh, that would be pretty interesting. That'd be pretty fun. Mm-mm-mm. Almost like purposefully becoming corrupted more and more. Right? I think Tia, you're revealing some things here. Mm-mm-mm. Sorry, it's getting to trying to. You guys are getting well ahead of me. The witch hunt was started by apothecaries to get rid of the herbalists they perceived as competition. That is a great story element, right? Like from the outside, an outsider may not see many differences, or maybe the sales of the thing might be a difference, but imagine a war of sorts, a bloody, dangerous, lethal war between herbalists and the apothecaries and the alchemists and the medicine men, medicine peoples, and the druids and the clerics. Like, that would be, imagine that conflict with the druids and the clerics. Like, the druids are like, no, we just want to help people, and the clerics are like, you're hurting our ability to get followers. Like, how can we turn them evil? Oh, I know. Hey, the druids are poisoning people and they are corrupting your body with mushrooms and blah, 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 twisting your brains. And the druids are like, well, we got to strike back, right? And then they start shape changing and they're like, look at them. They're spreading lycanthropy. Look at their allies. Look at them as they change their bodies. They're no different than werewolves. Look, they don't even drink out of silver cups because it's so antithetical to them. They're evil. And the druids are like, you mother, what? One-eyed heathen says, I think it was apothecaries in the 1800s who were the first to develop film. Might be interesting to explore the fantasy world. Yeah. And also not to cut you off, heathen, but we are going to do. It's probably tomorrow. Yes, it's tomorrow. Where we're going to talk about the alchemist, and I want to talk about the alchemist in a non transforming the body kind of way. I kind of want to stick to like the healing arts today on this one, and then we're going to talk about other chemical things because we often overlook glues and acids and, like you said, film. Um, uh, there's so many other chemicals that we use, whether it's gases and, of course, poisons and things of that nature, transforming materials like lead to gold and such. But I want to hold it off later. This one I want to talk about the healing arts, where it's pretty damn lethal. It can lead to pretty very lethal outcomes when it comes to the healing arts, right? Like, how many conflicts are there in our local city over which hospital you should go to? Um, you know, doctors rely on their reputations. And how soon can a doctor's reputation be taken down? Or someone knows that there's a corrupt doctor performing medicines that are incorrect, and no one wants to say anything because it's a it's an accepted practice of like, well, if I say something against that other medical official, that means they'll say something against me, and I don't want them looking at me. And I know how hard it is to learn all of these techniques, and maybe there are individuals who can teach me the special techniques, or I can steal those plans, or maybe that person only has them in their head, and there's kidnapping that happens about how did you make this formula? I can't do it, you know. And then of course the snake oil salesman who gets found out and then gets murder killed in the street or something, or the snake oil salespersons steals all the monies that someone has, and then they leave town and leave people behind, or the people who are just convinced, the placebos, the people who are convinced that the thing is working and it's not, or the others, the people who don't believe it's working and it is. Anyway, there's a lot in there. Skin tags. I got a series of skin tags on my neck from wearing my letter carrier's bag over the years. It's been 30 years, and you get that rub, and then the rub turns into like moles and warts and things like that. You can't. I don't. You can kind of see them in the camera. It's like a bunch of dots. There's about 10 or 15 of them. Carcinogens. Yeah, that's a thing too. I mean, oof, or hell, maybe there's even nasty or deadly. And we're going to talk about this with alchemy tomorrow. But maybe the apothecary, even developing a small healing potion, leaves a lot of waste products behind that are really dangerous. Of course, yeah, the most potent solution to dealing with cancer is activation of the antibody system to sort it out. But the issue with malign tumors often is that they develop methods of being unseen chemically by them. Yeah. The I wonder how diagnosis would be done. Would it just be random people who have books that where they're like feeling the bumps on your head, or would it be someone has a a big box, and they open up the box, and out of it comes floating a will-o-wisp that stares at someone and floats over their body, and the will-o-wisp, if it steals you and kills you, you're like, well, you were going to die anyway. But if it leaves you alone, it's like, oh, its light casts over your body so bright you can see like the your organs and skeleton inside, and it can point out what's wrong with you or something. Or maybe it's a psychic ability, I don't know. Mm-mm-mm. Shai says, will the apothecary cleric bash your fucking brains out with a fucking warhammer to get the evil out? That's what it's for. It's to get the evil out. You have a tumor in your brain. Hammer, smash, smash, smash. Reach inside, grab out big black thing. There it is. I got it. Or oops, you didn't have something in there. Shove brains back inside. Use some scotch tape. There you go. Yep, Deadman says play a rogue with apothecary skills and always claim to be a healer making potions. Well, here's the thing: are you really lying? Right? Like, if the population goes to a person that heals them, they don't care what your mechanical stats are, right? They might not even care what your background is. If the old That's why evil hags live, because the people go, there's an evil hag in the woods, except they did something for me, so I guess we need the evil hag in the woods, right? So yeah, why wouldn't the and evil hags mechanically can like shape change and things like that. Some people would would be eternally grateful for the evil apothecary who does a thing to save someone, even if it means it required the murder of like other people to get the thing done. I can extract uh I can literally distill life force into a bottle and make you immortal, but it's going to cost you. And if, yes, give me anything to save my loved one, right? And then, they've got the bottle, and they use, I don't know, they put the person into a chamber that uses acid to distill them down, or they slice them open to get the thing. It could be pretty evil to sell a thing and go, I've got the one thing that can give you bring back your loved one from the dead or something. And of course, when you make that bargain, are they really dead or just animated? It's the necromancer thing, and great stories from that. Yeah, the Book of Vile Darkness said that getting people addicted to stuff was right up there with the most evil thing you can do. Maybe addictive fantasy drugs would be a good backstory for an evil cult. Oh hell yeah! And here's an even better not better twist. Here's a great twist to that. The classic drug dealer, but fantasy wise, right? But who's to say the drug really doesn't do what it's supposed to do? It just becomes addictive. Oh yeah, the city guard that's like the who's roided out like a an ogre or whatever. Hell yeah! But getting addicted to it, and then what happens when the drug dealer becomes the those that are addicted start hunting the drug dealer to get what they need, and the drug dealer can't supply it because the drug dealer in turn needs to get it from someone else, warlocks, demons, devils, something, the Rakshasa who's like, oh, I get this from another plane of existence. You'll have to come back next week. And he's like, I can't wait. I need more supply. Yeah. You're all right there, Heathen. Yeah. The healing arts, do they have a cure for reality? Listen, even today, we don't have that. How many late night commercials? I know you guys don't watch commercials anymore, but late night commercials to drink the thing, eat the thing, attach the thing to the body, smell the thing that's going to transform your life. And then they show you videos of people losing a lot of weight and testimonials where at the bottom it says, these people were paid for their testimonies and stuff. Yeah. Uh, TA says, I should say, too, I don't just go nuts and believe everything. Exactly. I have investigated the massive scientific studies on effects of like various herbal substances and go from there, as well as looking at the other work that the scientists behind the studies have done to ensure it's not an idiot that seeks a given result when doing a study, making their own work unreliable. And that's a really, it's possible for the player characters, maybe, for example, maybe there's someone who's very cuckoo, kind of out there in your fantasy world, but they're really trying to help someone. They're just going about it the wrong way, you know. Oh, okay. Just remember, it tastes like how coffee smells. So drinky. Mm, um, there may be some other things too, like not placebo effects. I'm thinking of um, con- people who take a thing to condition themselves to not suffer a thing. So, like, there are, I've heard of the idea of drinking small amounts of poison. This is fantasy, right? But drinking small amounts of poison to make someone resistant to poison, or the fantasy idea of like a ninja clan that drinks small amount of poisons to make their blood itself poisonous, or individuals that drink something that makes other animals, dangerous animals, smell them and then want to go the opposite way because of what they ingest into their bodies. It may also be there are like foods and or water that is normally poisonous, but you drink something or ingest something that allows a person to digest the undigestible material. Like for example, I believe it's in Africa, there's a plant that when you chew the plant, when you eat something that is very bitter, it makes it sweet. And so by eating them both together, it allows someone to consume something that has a lot of nutrients in it, but it tastes horrible. So that may be another thing the apothecary might be involved in. Like, you know what? We only are able to live near this, I don't know, volcanic region and consume the stuff that's got heavy carbon deposits because we're eating something that allows the people here, and those people could be kind of physically transformed by it. Not necessarily addicted, but they need it to live here because they're not able to eat the poisonous fish or the diseased fruits or something like that. One Eye Heathen says in a universe with you guys are so far ahead of me. All right, in a universe with gods and with faith healing, it would theoretically be possible for faith to turn poison into a healing potion, or maybe lack of faith would make a healing potion not work. Thank you for bringing that up again. That this idea that in a fantasy world, um, we don't often consider the fact that there isn't magic somewhere. It's because we think, well, if there's clerics, there's healing magic. But how many people consider themselves clerics who don't have healing magic at all? And folk magic, the idea that if you don't have faith, this thing won't work for you. Um, the day of the apothecary, if you ingest this today, it'll work. Tomorrow and yesterday, this thing would not have worked. But because it's under a full moon, or it's the solstice, or 3 stars fell out of the sky, now ingest the thing. Hey, you ingest the thing by speaking the name of a great ancestor, because if you don't, it becomes poison. Uh, Maybe this is a way for uh, zero level people to transform themselves into other states of existence, some a type of apotheosis, by believing a thing, ingesting the thing, and then they become something else. It's like, why does a small town have a celestial in it? Because that person drank the nectar of the gods and believed it, and then they became that way. And it's like, why couldn't everybody else do it? Because when they drank it, they died, and their body was shriveled up and whatnot. Yeah, phrenology, the detailed study of the shape and size of the cranium as a supposed indication of character and mental abilities. We could make that real in fantasy gaming, or it could literally be just bullshit, but people still believe it. And yeah, this is. I mean, it might be interesting to look at the healing spells from places like ancient Egypt and construct a universe where sometimes headaches were caused by demons or whatever. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that very much so. Hey, he had a headache, but once we got the headache out, the what are they called? Lemurs, lemurs, or whatever. Yep. Mm-mm-mm. Sounds like you're getting into adrenochrome territory here. Apothecary meets evil cult meets politicians. Whole campaign backstory. Yep. And oh, by the way, after listening to me spout a bunch of bullshit, buy my herbal supplements because it's the only real thing, right? How many podcasts have that at the very end? Like blah 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 bullshit. Oh yeah, by the way, herbal supplements. Yeah. Yeah, you could use my idea of the razor vine from hell. Yeah, being both capable of giving mind reading and manifestation capability, make it like a hallucinogen, but the hallucinations are actually manifestations in reality. And unless you unmanifest them before coming down, they remain as an issue to be dealt with using the sword. I like that idea. I like that. Like, hey, you're getting high. I get it. You're getting high, but you might want to hey, you take the equivalent of an upper in a fantasy realm that creates a thing, but it gets out of hand if you don't take the other concoction, which the apothecary is dangling like, oh, that one cost you 1 silver, this 500 gold to come back down. And you're like, no. Yeah, I've got bugs on my skin. Really? Ooh, Drew, ouch. Ow. Getting reunited with a loved one. It's called Soylent Green. Yeah, for those who don't know, it's Soylent Green Part 2. Uh, uh, they said they changed the formula, and it still tastes like my family. Yeah, yeah, oof. Soylent Green. Yeah, yeah. That was during the age of like the Twilight Zone movies, the warnings about technology. The apothecary could be a warning about the oncoming. It could be the warnings of the oncoming of technology in a fantasy realm, and there are people who are against it as well. So, because the apothecary may lead to the alchemist, which leads to the artificer or artificer or whatever. Like this could be the next step, in the druids are folded arm pouting like, they're gonna make firearms soon. I can tell. Right? Yeah, Robitussin cough syrup, cure for reality. Yeah, put some tussin on it. Something wrong with you? Get some tussin. A religious cult could be driven by an addiction to an extraplanar drug. Yep, the first step to joining the cult. Hell's yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Here, drink this. I mean, maybe the transformative. Hey, drink this. You could see to another realm is real. That's the only way to do it. Hey, we don't have the spells to open a portal to another realm, but we sure can get into your mind. And then once it gets into their mind, it can physically manifest, crawls out of their ear or nose or something. They start retching out little small demons. Big like flesh colored spider thing crawls out of their mouth, but it's not made out of spider. It's made out of like hands and fingers, and you're just like, oh. And then the hand gives a little thumbs up as it's mixed with vomit and effluvia and other kinds of nasty things. Miracle fruit. Thank you, Dead Man. Yes, the miracle fruit is a real thing. Sinsipalum dulcificum. Fuck, I butchered that. Also called a miracle berry, evergreen shrub of the family Sapotaceae, grown for its mild fruits that make subsequent eating sour fruits taste sweet. And if I'm not mistaken, it's been used culturally to you eat it first, it coats the tongue, and then it makes bitter things that are necessary to live. It makes them very sweet. And you can buy like the and if like an apothecary, you can buy packets of these little pills that melt on your tongue that do the same thing. Thomas Anderson says ginkgo biloba is like that. Taking it, eating it about like lettuce on all sandwiches lead to me doing a month not sleeping more than an hour to the day. Oof, oof. I don't do that. It also drastically improved my thinking process, as tested by someone else, both before consumption to get a baseline and after using a randomizing IQ test. Wow. Yeah, lemurs, the lowest form of devil. That's what I was thinking of. Yes, you vomit out a worm with the head of a human person on it, and that person's like, "Thank you very much, I escaped hell." As you're like, "Did you just come out of my rectum, my anus?" I sure did. Now I'm your best friend, and you can carry me around your neck or in your pocket. Ugh, Mr. Hanky. When I hear this is maybe on that day, some undergo an initiation ritual. They drink poison and are sure to die unless they are convinced up, down, and sideways they achieve godhood. Now, here's another thing as well. Um, it an initiation. We've seen many dangerous initiations. Gang members being jumped in to become part of initiation, but drinking a poison and then having to drink the anti venom, but it only will save you if you believe it, and then you are converted into the cult or a loyal convert or something like that. An apothecary could be an agent of that effect, right? Like, oh, we can't heal you until you're near death. And then because it kills all the evil things in your body, and then you were reborn or something. And it was like, drink, drink, drink. Oh wow, I'm back. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, their ear starts falling off or something. Soylent Green is people. Yep. Yeah, the Hoteps. Yep. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm. Ah, you're spamming me. Don't do it. TA, stop it, stop it. Mm-mm-mm. And uh ginkgo trees. Leviathan is the distortion of a guardian over an asylum in that realm that is working to purge laziness in intelligent and creative people. Ooh. I wonder if an apothecary could by distilling a small amount of something, it leads to a bigger thing. So an example would be uh you were talking about the Leviathan and laziness or something. Like maybe people are getting sleepy and they want something that will like give them more energy or whatever. But the sleepiness is from people drinking or eating something that the apothecary brought, but it's really a distilled form of like basilisk blood or whatever, right? Like a little bit of it, sleepiness. Too much of it, turn to stone. Um, a little bit of it, oh, I've got a lot of energy. Boy, you seem flushed. Too much of it, and it's like I'm going to burn up and catch you on fire from the inside out. Yeah. Uh, Also, we here's something that we often seem to forget is the potion miscability tables. And potion miscability tables are so fun because it's the idea that if you consume a potion in fantasy and then while you are under the effects of one potion, if you take another one and it mixes together, it has an undesired effect. And we often don't consider that, especially with a healing effect. Oh, I heal 8 hit points. Oh, I need to drink another one. Come on, 20, right? And you drink another one. Technically, you should be rolling on the, not should be. Optionally, you could be rolling on a miscability table because they may not be the same. So, also, you could also have the idea that there are no factories punching out these things. These are all made by individual. Maybe it's a guild or a clan or a faction, or maybe just one professional who just learned it from their aunt or something like that. It was passed down. So it could be that the exact same healing potion can't be mixed together because you're not taking the same one from the same person who created the same thing from the same orchard during the same period of time, right? Much like how alcohols taste different based on where the grapes come from, what region of the world they come from, whether they were, how ripe or unripe they were picked. You know, we have grapes that are grown here in the United States, but they have a different chemical makeup than the same exact family of grapes that are in, say, France. But and then they are given names by the regions that they are, like how we name alcohols. And so there's also the fact that that the let's make, for example, here's something dumb: a a basilisk resistant uh, uh, petrification may not concoction may not be the exact same that works also for Medusa, which be kind of effed up, but yes, it could be something like that. You could have TAs bring up things like speed, talking about like maybe there are things that people are taking where they don't have to sleep anymore. Their concentration is better. It basically turns them extra human. I hate to use the word superhuman because it reminds me of comic books, but basically making them peak human in whatever endeavor they're trying to get, which is a force multiplier for the region, and they need people. Could you imagine a workforce that doesn't need to sleep, but sleep is important, and they start losing their minds? Or um, a people who in drinking something they heal like trolls do, but over time they start getting little bumps on their body, little tumors, and they're like, what's going on? I need a concoction to stop this from happening. And the apothecary is like, I can give it to you, but it's going to cost you 5 times what it costs because you are transforming into a troll. And the trolls in the outer region are like, told you, that's what we were trying to tell you this whole time. Yeah, speed, like you would think it's just the pump of imagination, not shutting up to not where you have insomnia and want to sleep, but rather you get it energized to act on thoughts you have. Well, the two may not necessarily be don't necessarily need to. Um, Both could be true. You know, zero level NPC drinks a thing, becomes brilliant, starts making like, it's like, why are they making Da Vinci things in their barn? They don't know. Build, 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 flying machines, sentient constructs, things like that. It just like they're like super brain energized, and then all of a sudden they just keel over dead. Their brain opens up and a black pudding spills out. Right, like the two could absolutely positively exist, and then people go to the PCs, please save my loved one, and their loved one is like, oh, what is that? A fully laden cart? Flip with one hand. Oh, is that PC's trying to cut my skin with a sword? Block, feels like steel, don't it? I'm a badass now. And then their chest bursts open and a big giant insect sleeps out of it or something. Um, the End King says it would be fun if potions had different effects depending on the apothecary. Exactly. In one area, they're like soda. In another, they're alcoholic, like medieval spirits. In another, they're like laudanum. Yep, absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? We didn't. There were no. Someone has 30 bottles. They're not all exactly the same, probably. Age would have an effect on it. The region would have an effect, even if they followed all the formula. Uh, it could. What if potions have a shelf life? Hey, this healing potion will eventually turn to poison within 9 days, right? Shelf lives. You bring up the effect of like one is like soda, one's like an is alcoholic. Sure, you heal, but you're also getting a high from it, or it knocks you out, or it paralyzes you, or it makes you have hallucinations and visions. It makes you look into the abyss, and the abyss looks back at you. Shy Squad brings up another thing. How about no healing potions in your world? Just ointments and salves that work. Anything purporting to be a healing potion is really poison. Another realistic motivation to avoid combat. And you could you bring up like healing salves and things. What if they are subdivided into only being able to? Okay, when you go to the hospital, we go there to be healed, but there is no one. The hospital doesn't give you a pill that heals all of your ailments. They need specific things that do specific things. Here's one medicine that helps you not have headaches. Oh, there's a different headache. There's a migraine. Well, here's another medicine for that. Oh, you have an open wound on your leg. No, we have to apply a different medicine to that. You have a broken bone. Well, that requires, we don't even have a medicine for that. We have to have a skill, set the bone. We have to use chemicals to make something hardened to go around it to protect it. And then we have another medicine to stop the pain, right? So maybe it's like, oh, we have a salve that can go over a bruise or a cut, maybe a burn, but an internal injury, sorry, you're going to have to go somewhere else. And vice versa. We have something that can heal you from the inside, but your skin, you have to wrap it with a, the old witch that chews on something, spits into the leaf, and then slaps it over top of the wound. It'll heal. It smells terrible, but it'll heal. you know, growing condition. Hey, Zamara. Growing condition and soil condition have subtle effects on the flavor profile, as well as the microbes in the region, which end up in your wine and breaks down the sugars into alcohol. There's also the temperature it's brewed and stored in, which, when we think of recipes, we don't. We often think of person mixes stuff together, shake, 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 healing potion. But like you're right, maybe it's all poison unless it's been stored in a particular cellar for a specific amount of time. Like alcohols, the barrels you put it in change the flavor profile. The temperature it's stored at can absolutely ruin alcohols and turn it to vinegar. And maybe I can imagine potions are even more susceptible to that. Putting it in the back of a heavily laden cart might not be the best thing in the world, but the PCs may have to travel back, air quotes, back home or whatever their home base is to get those healing potions to go back out again, because everybody else is just making like like how do you know the healing potion is a healing potion until you're hurt and then you drink it? Yeah, when I hear this, is I like the idea of applying randomness, and that randomness doesn't need to be like, if you just want to start adding a little flavor into it, you could add like a random table of color, flavor profile. Um, what is it that does the thing? So something that heals doesn't have to be a potion. Elixirs, ointments, tinctures, injectables, consumables, powders, pills, um, stews, steeps, whatever. Like one community, well, here, take this dried leaf and you stew it. You steep it in hot fluid, and it's going to take you about 10 minutes. But once it disintegrates, then you can drink the thing. But it's got to cool down first. Whereas someone else is like, no, it's actually the sap from a tree, but it's mixed with this other thing, and it's like a candy. You have to sit it on your tongue, and eventually it melts Like a tincture. It's just a small bottle. Remember, it's one drop under the tongue, two drops and you're dead. Right? Laudanum, 10% solution of opium powder in alcohol. Yeah, yeah. Um, or the healing potion, all it does is just knock you out for 10 days so you can heal naturally. Yeah, salves and ointments that don't work or at least don't give you hit points back. Yep. Or, oh, guess what? It heals you twice the hit points, but it also makes something living inside of you. What is that crawling under my skin? Grab that knife. There's something sliding underneath my skin. Oh no, it heals your stomach, your what is it, the living bacterium we have in our gut. Oh no, it heals that too. Actually, it just as it made you superhuman, it makes that superhuman too. Everybody stand back. The dwarf's about to vomit up a black pudding. Sorry guys, it's just a gray ooze. Don't worry about it. Hey, he's crapping out a cube. He's crapping out a gelatinous cube. Would be interesting to have a plant that increases rate of healing because it grows so incredibly fast, like say kudzu vines. Yep. While not true of real kudzu, it's at least so useful. Yes. For those who don't know, kudzu was a plant that is not native to the United States. I believe it spread from like the southern states because that's where the ports were at, like Alabama, Louisiana, Florida, and those places. And it's a plant that just grows. It dominates. It just keeps growing over and over and over. And cultivating it would be easy, but the community, druids and many other people might go like, we don't want it here because it's just going to grow too fast. Or it's the opposite. There's a plant that grows so fast that if you take the good berries off the tree, the minute you take the berries off, it starts making something grow there that shouldn't, which might destroy the entire orchard. And so you're constantly hacking away to keep it from growing, to get those healing potions, whatever, or something. Yeah. How about a supposed healing salve that says something rude and oozes away? F you, slink away. Oh wow. Zamara says there's actually a third-party content thing for that I love to do. You find a healing potion in a dungeon. There's a small chance of it being more potent, small chance of it doing here we go. Small chance of it doing what it's supposed to, and a large chance that it will just do something completely different, like a potion of minor strength or sapping strength or of mind control. Damn it. Hey, listen, potion you drink and it's accidentally a potion of mind control. Someone drinks it, they go, oh, hey, are you healed? And a person says, am I? Well, it looks like you're healing. Oh, I guess I am healing. Yes. Great. Let's get back into the fight. Let's get back into the fight. And everyone's like, why did they just die? I don't know. Oh, that's hilarious. I love it, Z. I love that. Too bad people are not making toilet paper cloth or making plastics and alcohol, etc., or raw crude oil from it, as they could since the infestation of it would not be a problem in the South anymore, but a solution they could benefit from. Talking about using kudzu, an overgrowing plant, for other uses, like it, which is kind of funny because I always joke that people want to remove weeds out of their garden. Like everyone's like, oh, I got weeds in my lawn, weeds in the garden. I'm like, couldn't we socially exchange the weeds for something we like and just go, great, I have weeds that keep growing and I never have to cut it. It's just funny, right? It's funny that we don't find, like you're saying, find the use of a thing that we think is problematic, which would just make the thing so overgrown that we never run out of it. How about the apothecarist has to apply a salve of gelatinous cube flesh, the only way to get hit points back, but you lose them at the same time? Ooh. There's that balancing factor, right? Oh, you're going to get burned by the cube, but I've been able to slice open its, I don't know. The cube it has an internal organ that I'm able to use. So even though it's hurting you, it's really going to heal you in the end. I've just lost 37 hit points. Don't worry about it. Just stay in the chamber. It's okay. Uh, what about a universe where, in order to harm or heal body parts, you need to harm or heal the consciousness of the body part? Treat the parts like individual people. Hmm. That's not at all far from the ancient idea of humor. Okay. The body was a system of four fluid humors: black bile, yellow bile, phlegm, and blood. If the humors were in balance, then the body was in health. If the humors were in imbalance, then a person was sick. Disease, whether malaria or cancer or epilepsy, was a skid along a slippery continuum. And yeah. I mean, it's possible. Like, oh, the human. Here's taking your idea. The human body is not just made up of the mind, but of your body parts. The left arm is a different person we have to beseech than the right arm, and we must coax it back into being healed. I understand you got an axe wound on it, and then it got crushed by a rock from a hill giant, but it's not you that's healing it. We must heal it and talk to the arm itself and get it to want to heal. Right? You're like, get it to want to heal. Damn it, it hurts. Talk to your arm. Ask it to be strong. Mm-mm. Yeah, I would watch it with salves. Could be witch's flying ointment, something so toxic that just rubbing it on your skin will cause you to think you can fly. Yeah. Hey, kitty. Yeah. Say hello to everyone. Hey, Sophie. Yes. I know. We're not done yet. I'll give you scratchies. Her scheduled head scratchies. Yeah, TA says means there could be a whole line of day of insert herb name gathering. Yes, because its properties being X or Y that day and no other. You're absolutely right. Aloe vera. You know, the aloe plant is a real plant that you can really grow. My grandmother grew them, and if you got a burn or like a abrasion or something like that, cut the plant off, put it on there, rub it on the skin. Yeah, real thing. Yeah, controlling rats, controlled by rats. Take your pick. Yeah, yeah. Rot grubs. Oof. Ugh. Zamara says, I have a random table for alcohol, color, and flavors based on type of alcohol. I've been using it for potions. It's interesting to watch your players' faces when you describe their healing potion. Yeah, especially when it's like really gross. You know, I've played the old hag chews the nasty, fat and spits it into the leaf and says, here's your healing app leak. And the PCs are like, I'm not putting that on my skin. And she's like, no, you're supposed to eat it. Yeah. Yeah, as very viscous and oily, but being light cyan and tastes like chocolate covered fish. I love it. I love that idea. Oh man. Yeah. And one eye Ethan says, oh, I lived in Georgia. I know kudzu. Yep, that shit is invasive. Yep. Yep. We it's not called kudzu, but we have it here in Ohio. Anyway, there's a place called the Wilds which is like an open air safari. Animals at our zoo, when they're given a break and allowed to live like in very wild spaces, go to the wilds, and there's like a kudzu type plant that's growing there. And we were going there, and they said, yeah, the animals eat it, but they said the funny thing is they need more animals to go there to graze on it because they need more of them to do it to keep it under control. And they said that eventually they're going to have to come up with an idea to stop it, but they say, yeah, it may be many years, many years, dozens of years, but they said it's a problem. Mm-mm-mm. Dandelion wine. Oh, that's right. There is a dandelion wine, honey wine, um, honeysuckle wine. Mm-mm-mm. I'll never get to the end. I'm trying to catch up to you guys. All right. You can actually turn weeds in your garden into a nutrient filled soup that you can then use to water your garden to help your plants grow. A great farmer trick. It just needs to sit for a month. I didn't know that. That I love the idea of. I think we all of us seem to be circling back to this idea of the harmful thing is also good. given certain conditions, and vice versa. The good thing also is problematic, and I love the idea. Like, could you imagine a player character creates? Um, they're like, I want to make an orchard of good berries, but the problem is the reason there are no orchards of good berries is because getting a handful of berries is one thing. Creating an orchard means it's just going to draw predators or scavengers, or it's going to grit into the soil and then create these weeds or trees or something that just keep growing out of control or whatever. Like, there could be all of these. Maybe the good berries only last for a day because after that it's highly toxic or poison or acidic. It, hey, every time you plant a good berry tree, it kills a whole acre of plants. And they're like, what the hell did you do? Yeah, even more interesting, American opium in the family of the dandelion plant is in, but its sap has a soothing, calming effect on anyone consuming it. We there's a number of plants that are like, if you use this one thing of the plant, it's good, but if you use the other part of the plant, it's horrible. Um, as a letter carrier, there are many people who want to have nice things in their garden, and they plant plants around their mailbox that draws bees, and I cannot stand it. Uh, I take the cat's purring as medicine. I do too. I do too. That's Sophie, Sophia Loren. Yeah. Thank you there, Heaton. Yep, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I have an invasive kitty that wants to get her scent on you just to make sure everyone knows you belong to her. I say that a lot. Like, sometimes they're like, "Well, my cat loves me." No, she doesn't. She owns me, and she rubs against me to make sure. Oh yeah, you're mine. Oh, you're mine. Oh, you're gonna rub my head like, yeah, just like that. Oh, you better. Or mix that aloe with slippery elm, comfrey root, and golden seal root to pack wounds that have started going gangrenous, as there is a chemical in the comfrey that acts like a similar chemical in maggots that protect them from disease from the rotting flesh and feces they live in, all without the rest of the maggot. Oh, wow. Yeah, necrotic tissue growing. Uh, looks identical to foxglove. Damn, there's so many things. Yep, we haven't got, oh, belladonna. Um, we haven't gotten to one plant looking exactly like another plant, but one's dangerous, one isn't. We haven't gotten to powerful healing plants that grow in the soil, but to feed the soil, you need like a lot of necrotic, like dead bodies in it, like something dangerous, something evil, something. Hey, why did the population kill the old hag? To take her body and she didn't even do anything wrong. We just wanted to take her body and stick her down into the soil to make a harvest of this thing that makes us powerful or something like that. Like, there's so many ways we can take and twist this idea. And the community, maybe the community keeps getting attacked by those ogres, and they're like, the PCs are like, shouldn't we be attacking the ogres? Don't worry about it. And come to find out that it's it happens to be a terrible side effect, but nobody wants to talk about it anymore. Of consuming the thing that grows there. Tomatoes and potatoes are part of the nightshade family. There are parts that are very poisonous to you and will kill you if eaten long enough. Yeah. Dead Man brings up the rhubarb. Like, yeah, like rhubarb, the stalk is a tasty food that is often used in dessert dishes, but the leaves are toxic. Yeah, maybe even getting even the idea of even collecting herbs themselves is like, oh yeah, it's got thorns, it's got something when it's very acidic or poisonous, toxic when it's um, like poison ivy writ large, right? You go to touch the thing and it's got some kind of chemical on it that's an irritant on your skin. Maybe it smells a way that draws predators towards you. It could be that you can only pick it at a particular time. It grows high on mountains or in a deep swamp. It could grow underwater, or you have to dig up the thing from the roots. Or so, like, there's so many, and like I said, it could have dangerous thorns, and or of course, there's hives of wasps and bees and things that live in and around this place. Oh, they hate you getting this thing. Yeah. Comfy hair. Oh, there's so much of it. Anyway, guys, I've gone on long enough. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I apologize. I always take up too much of your time. I really appreciate it. But just be aware. Tomorrow we're going to talk about alchemy and get away quite a bit from the uh, healing transformative parts of the apothecary, and go into like go more into like using chemicals to do a thing, like filling a moat with chemicals or using chemicals on a battlefield or things of that nature. Shai says, is there an anti-herbal cult in your fantasy world? Do they rule the kingdom? Yeah. Listen, a lot of nobility, totalitarian governments don't want people to have power, like removing firearms. The old thing of banning capoeira because it allowed people to physically defend themselves with martial arts. Nobility, especially in a dominating regime, doesn't want people having herbal skills. So yeah, having an anti-herbal cult, absolutely. Heck, in historically, nobility is thought of as being divine, and if they say taking those herbs is circumventing the will of the gods, us many people will believe it, or be forced to believe it. Morale will improve. Beatings will continue until morale improves. Idea, right? So yeah, cordyceps tomorrow. Yep. Oh no, cordyceps today. Tomorrow, oh, I'll eat arsenic. Yeah. We didn't even talk about the mushroom gathering. Yes, mushrooms being grown. Mushrooms grow in the dark in feces, and having a deal with those dark subterranean realm. Not just the dwarves, but we've got the Surf Neblin and Drow and all those people. Yeah, it's like you dude, you go as long as I can. Oh man, Z says I'll need to be here tomorrow. Okay, all right, guys. Anyway, I'm cutting this real short. Okay, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. This day of the apothecary. Tomorrow we talk about um tomorrow we go into the alchemist and a little bit of the artificer, a little bit artificer, whatever. Anyway, guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace.